Hello everyone, back into today's video. Going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days for today's video. That's going to take us to around the 10th of April. So we're moving into the second week of April with the week 10-day video update time frame now. So I'll get back to you very shortly. We're going to have a look at the what's happening in the stratosphere in the first part of the video in terms of the temperatures over the Arctic. And then we'll have a look at Stratospheric 2 for the next 4 weeks at the end of the video. Before I do anything else, I'm going to say that we're going to be starting up some live streams on the YouTube channel. We're going to do a couple of live streams in the afternoon on Wednesday and Sunday. It's going to be Wednesday and Sunday, but we're going to do a couple of live streams every week. So on Wednesday, the live stream will be between 4 and 5 in the afternoon, and on Sunday between 5 and 6. So that gives everybody, if people are busy in the week, it gives them the opportunity to have a listen in during the weekend. The primary reason for the live streams is, of course, the coronavirus and COVID-19 crisis that we're currently in. I'm having to close down the comment box on GazWeathers.com for the time being, because we have to pay an ongoing subscription for that, and the ad revenues that kind of pay for that are in rapid decline. They're declining very, very quickly as we go through an economic crisis as well as a medical crisis. So I'm having to remove the comment box at GazWeathers.com for the time being. So I thought if we just did a couple of live streams every week through the live chat, it would give everybody the chance to check in, and we can make sure that everyone is okay and have a bit of a chat that way. And of course, everybody else can join in with the conversation as well. We will be talking about weather also, of course, during these live streams. We'll be showing you some charts and whatnot. But the main reason is to allow everybody to check in at this time of crisis and let the GazWeathers community all come together and look out for one another, because that's the way we're going to get through this crisis, with everybody coming together and looking after one another. So that's going to be happening, first one of those will be on Wednesday between 4 and 5 in the afternoon, and Sunday between 5 and 6 o'clock. Now, before we do anything else, now that's out of the way, I'm going to just say a big thank you to our latest PayPal donor. So we've had a donation for GazWeathers through PayPal from Shiram Pamu. So a big thank you, Shiram, for your donation to GazWeathers. That's really, really kind. Thank you so much for doing that. Shiram is also a patron for GazWeathers as well. So a double thank you to Shiram for your kindness and also for your generosity to GazWeathers. As I say, ad revenue, and we are primarily ads funny, but ad revenue is dropping very, very dramatically at the moment due to this severe crisis that we are all in. So Patreon and PayPal, they give us the added opportunity to increase revenue streams that way. So it's very, very helpful if anybody can make a donation to GazWeathers, but only do so if you can afford it, because I realise we're all in a crisis with this. So only donate if you can absolutely afford to. But thank you so much, Sharon, for your donation. If you'd like to give a donation to GazWeathers, all you need to do is come to the GazWeathers PayPal page, sign into your PayPal account, and give whatever donation you'd like to GazWeathers. We'll give you a mention in videos as long as we want, as long as you want one. We will also, of course, or we can also give a mention for your business, for your website. Yesterday we looked at a Facebook page that somebody had created to deal with, how to bring people together during this crisis. So we can do anything like that with mention in videos. It's however you want that mention, and we're very happy to do that. Alternatively, you can become a patron for GazWeathers. So we've got 64 patrons so far. Hello, and a big thank you to our 64 patrons. If you would like to become a patron of GazWeathers, then you just come to GazWeathers Patreon page, you sign up for a patron account, and give an ongoing monthly donation to GazWeathers. It can be anything from $1 a month and upwards, and that is how you become a patron for GazWeathers. So yes, a big thank you to our patrons, big thank you to our donors. You're helping us to pay for GazWeathers at this time of crisis, and thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. As I say, live stream starting on Wednesday and then on Sunday. Wednesday between 4 and 5, Sunday between 5 and 6 o'clock. And we'll check in and we'll have a bit of a chat through the live stream, and we'll make sure that everybody is doing okay, as we've had to remove, or are going to have to remove, the comment facility at GazWeb is hopefully only temporarily. Right, let's move on with the video then. As I said, we're going to start off with the temperature at 10 HPA over the Arctic and the North Pole. So we had the southern stratospheric warming last week, and we see that quite clearly here with this black line. This is from the JMA, by the way, Japanese Meteorological Agency. We see how the black line shoots up just there. Around a week ago, going very close to minus 10, and 850 going very close to minus 10 at 10 HPA. That's dropped down a little bit from that level, but it's still pretty warm actually, still around minus 30 something. Like that. The grey line is the trend line, so we are still above average for the temperature at 10 HPA in the stratosphere over the North Pole. So that remains very much above average. If you go lower down to 30 HPA, which is closer to the troposphere, there we're still a little bit colder than average actually. You see the black line did lift up last week. It was down there earlier on in March. It went up to around there. That's where it still is right now. So the temperature has lifted up, but it is actually still a little bit under the grey line. At the end of March, we should be around there, somewhere around minus 55. We're actually around minus 60. So at 30 HPA, despite that really quite dramatic warming of the stratosphere at 10 HPA, despite that, at 30 HPA, we were actually still a little bit colder than average. Of course, had a very, very cold temperature at 30 HPA throughout this season. Through most of the winter just gone, we was down below minus 80, so around minus 85. So, yes, we have seen a bit of a warming at 30 HPA, but we're still actually a bit below average. And so, despite the fact that the temperature in the top of the stratosphere at 10 HPA relatively warm, down close to the troposphere, the polar vortex of doom, which has been churning away all winter, has been relentless and remorseless. That polar vortex of doom continues, and part of the reason for that is that the temperature is still actually colder than average, down at 30 HPA close to the troposphere. This is how temperatures are forecast to develop at 10 HPA over the North Pole for the next couple of weeks. This is from the GFS at Meteo Seal. So you can see the temperature is pretty warm actually, around minus 30 there, with those yellow shaded colours at 10 HPA. As we run through, we keep those yellow colours sitting over the Arctic and over the North Pole. So, yes, it doesn't look like we're going to have any particularly notable cool down in the temperature. It does look as though at the 10 HPA level, at the top of the stratosphere, or near the top of the stratosphere, it looks as though the polar vortex is pretty much done for now. That's where it's rooted, of course, but it doesn't mean that it can't keep churning away lower down, at least for a while anyway. We'll eventually get rid of it from the troposphere as well, but that looks like it's going to take a little bit of time. This is from weatheriscool.com, and it's showing us the strength of zonal winds at 10 HPA. So zonal winds, kind of a way of looking at the polar vortex. Lots of different coloured lines with this, but the most important ones are the blue and the black line. The black line is trend line, so zonal winds should be weakening now through the spring and into the summer months. So zonal winds should go into reverse. That's even without any sort of southern stratospheric warming. That just happens cyclically every year. We lose the temperature contrast between the tropics and the pole, and the temperature contrast is one of the things that powers the polar vortex. So just purely due to that, things are warming up in the northern hemisphere as the sun is now above the equator, of course, and in the northern hemisphere, so days are longer than nights. It means that that the polar vortex just goes anyway, as there's not cold enough temperatures to sustain it. But throughout this season, the zonal wind has actually been at record-breaking levels on and off through most of the winter just gone. So there we had a burst of record-breaking zonal winds there too, and just there into the first half of March. Now, the Sun stratospheric warming did cause quite a significant weakening of the solar wind, I think. It went down to around there, around a week or so ago. But this, as I say, this polar vortex of doom, which has been absolutely relentless and remorseless through this season just gone, it's actually come back. It's actually strengthened, this polar vortex, over the past few days, despite the sun stratospheric warming. So that's where the solar wind currently is as we come to the end of March. It's up there. Again, virtually a record-breaking level for this time of the year. Virtually a record-breaking strong solar wind for this time of the year. The GFS ensembles have the green lines just here. They are depicting and showing a further weakening of solar winds over the next couple of weeks. So around 2 weeks' time, that's where the GFS ensembles have the solar wind. Still stronger than average, though. Remember, the black line is a trend line, so the solar wind, as we go into early to mid-April, should be around there, really. It should be in that sort of level. So even in a couple of weeks' time, the solar wind and the polar vortex, therefore, is still stronger than average. The other coloured lines, we've got 3 pink and 1 blue. They do eventually get the solar winds into reversal of the solar winds later on into April. So into the second half of April, we should then see the end of the polar vortex, but it really is fighting it out, this polar vortex, and it definitely doesn't want to go. I'm going to be a bit sorry to see the back of it, really, because it's been such a powerful and ever-present feature of the weather over the past few months, but it will be a bit sad to see the end of it, but looks as though by the time we get through to the end of April, the solar winds should then be in reverse, and then the solar winds staying to reverse as we go into the summer, of course, before the polar vortex will then start to power up. As we come towards the end of the summer, around August, we'll see the first signs of the polar vortex beginning to reappear for 2020, 2021. So, yes, the polar vortex is fighting on, it's clinging on for dear life. Eventually we will see the end of the polar vortex of doom, but it's making a fight of it, and it may not be until we get through to the second half of April that we see a final end of the polar vortex. We shall have to wait and see. Alright, that's what you got today of everything stratosphere-wise. Let's move on to censoring temperature. So the CT is currently looking like this, provisional to yesterday, 29th of March. We're standing at 6.8. That's an anomaly of around a degree above average. That's set against 61 to 1990, of course. Set against a more recent average, it wouldn't be as big an anomaly as that. This will probably tick down a little bit more over the next couple of days, and then we normally get a downwards correction, so I think we're going to come in probably in the end somewhere around 6.4 or maybe 6.5 when we taking downwards correction. So very similar CET for March to what we had in January and February, of course. The only difference is we are going into what is, well, into spring now, of course. So it hasn't felt as mild this century in temperature, despite being very close to the CT we had for January and February. It hasn't felt anywhere near as mild this March as January and February did. And that's because we should be in a warming time of year. But really, this is just telling us how exceptionally mild January and February were. And we're going to see signs of warmer conditions as we go further on into the second week of April as well, I think. And it could start as early as this coming weekend, actually. So these are the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts from the Penn State University for the next week to 10 days. We've got the ECMWF here on the top, and the GFS, which we'll have a look in a moment, is on the bottom. So 500 millibars is now in the absolute high pressure and low pressure are being moved around by jets. It's basically the troposphere, and that's what weather is, a movement of air masses by the jet stream. Blue extrapolates to below average heights, which is low pressure, yellow, orange and red to above average heights, which is high pressure. So in the week to 10 day time frame, we can see that we've got a trough of below average heights in the North Atlantic, deep area of low pressure there. We've got above average heights sitting to our south and southeast. It means that winds are coming up from a southwesterly direction. So on the face of it, that looks like it should be relatively high pressure dominated, should be reasonably dry, and potentially quite mild or even relatively warm, actually. So, as I say, this is taking us into the second week of April, and real signs of spring there. for the second week of April, after this little throwback to winter that we're currently in. It looks as though by the time we get through to next week, we should be seeing definite signs of spring. The GFS is very similar as well. So that again has the above average heights sitting over to the south and east of the country, below average heights out in the Atlantic. Just there, and we're bringing in this very mild or even quite warm southwest wind. The energy in the Atlantic, there is quite a bit of energy in the Atlantic, so that might start to throw some rain bands our way. But for a while anyway, we're going to get mainly dry and quite mild or even relatively warm weather. We can see this quite clearly within the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. So looking at London today from old wet to central, the red line is a 30-year upper air temperature average. You can see how we're starting off cold at the moment. It is still cold with the upper air temperatures and the surface temperatures. They're going to lift up a bit over the next few days, but still a bit on the lowly side. But as we get through to the weekend, that's when you see the upper air temperatures starting to take off, becoming much milder over the weekend, and then those much milder conditions lasting into extended range, which takes us through the second week of March and up, second week of April, I should say, and up to the middle of the month. And precipitation-wise, we also see signs of a change. So lots of dry weather for the next week to 10 days. Beyond that, through the second week of April, despite the fact temperatures are becoming milder, it looks like it's also becoming a bit more unsettled with more in way of precipitation spikes. That's because there's quite a bit of energy in the Atlantic. So as we move up towards the Easter period, we may be, of course, did the first Easter update last night, which wasn't a bad update, really. But as we move towards the Easter period, we may see temperatures lifting up, yes, but possibly there will be the chance that it starts to get more unsettled again. Have to see about that. This is how the temperature anomaly is looking from the 30th of March to the 7th of April. Still colder than average, so still got a few more days of quite cold weather to go, really. And precipitation anomalies, they remain drier than average, so cold and dry continues to sum it up from the 30th of March to the 7th of April. This is how the latest GFS run is looking for Thursday. So we tried to pull down a very cold Arctic wind on Thursday and Friday. We do get those cold northerlies into Scotland, so second half of this week turned bitterly cold across Scotland, and there could well be snow across parts of Scotland too. We don't quite manage to push that northerly down into the south. The reason is that we have this little area of high pressure. It does have a go at getting itself up towards Greenland, but it doesn't quite come up because of this shortwave low pressure just here. That acts as a blocker to stop this high pressure getting up to Greenland, and so instead the high pressure just sits around sort of northern France, southwest England, sits around there, and that diverts the coldest of this northerly blast away from us. As I say, we do pull those cold upper air temperatures down into Scotland on Thursday and Friday, so it will turn a lot colder there in the second half of the week. There could well be some snow, but most of the cold northerly Arctic air is actually plunging down into Scandinavia. And as we go into next weekend, then it starts turning much milder as this high pressure drifts over towards Germany and the Low Countries. It begins to pull the wind into the south. We start to drag up much milder air from the south. So by Sunday, the air is wafting up from quite a long way south, actually. If you follow the isobars back, there is certainly originating from like the Mediterranean, pushing up across the western side of Europe. So that could easily lift temperatures into the mid to upper teens Celsius, maybe even a little bit higher than that. Monday, so still very mild, but low pressure starting to break through a bit. So as we go through to Tuesday next week, then it might be starting to turn a little bit more unsettled and showery. Let's have a look as we get to day 10, which is Thursday the 9th of April, and then we're close to this ridge of high pressure, although for the south, probably still a little bit showery then. Into the Easter period, high pressure strengthens across the country, actually. So this is Saturday, 11th of April. We have the high pressure strengthening there. That's bringing us quite a bit of dry weather through the Easter weekend, and relatively warm too. So that is a very nice Easter weekend that's being forecast there. We finish the GFS run on Wednesday the 15th of April. Low pressure then is starting to move back in from off the Atlantic, beginning to turn unsettled. But winds remain from like a south-southwest direction, so it should be relatively mild. GM looks like that. Again, we're having a really good go at pulling down Arctic northerlies at the end of the week. We do actually infiltrate those cold northerlies a little bit further southwards with the GM compared to the GFS for Friday. But through the weekend, it starts to turn much milder again as winds push up from the south, high pressure centres over central parts of Europe, and we turn wind into the south. So it becomes very mild at the weekend, even quite warm, and that lasts into the early part of next week as well. Maybe starting to go a bit more unsettled in the north and west around day 10, but that's how we look as get to day 10, which is Thursday, the 9th of April. Still under a ridge of high pressure, really, so quite a bit of dry over, just a bit more showery and unsettled up in the north. But really, that's relatively dry, and temperatures should still be holding up quite nicely, I would have thought. And then the ECM, again, taking that high pressure and trying to move it up towards Greenland as we get towards the end of this week. Northerly winds, particularly for Scotland, where there could be some snow, actually, Thursday to Friday. But then into the weekend, same idea, the wind swings into the south, starts to turn much milder. We start to drag those southerly winds up across the western side of Europe. Temperatures could easily reach the mid to upper teens Celsius with that. And maybe even feeling a little bit summer-like in the April sunshine. Probably going a bit more unsettled as we head up towards day 10. Look, as we get to day 10, which is Thursday, the 9th of April. So then we've got high pressure just to our southwest. We're bringing something a little bit cooler from the northwest and maybe some showery bursts of rain. But overall, that is still relatively anticyclonic and it's not particularly unsettled. This is the option that's on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10 from the Icelandic Met Office. Gets us to the 9th of April. We have 51 out of 51. All members of the ECM ensembles have low pressure out to the west-northwest, high pressure to the south-southeast, bringing in the wind from a southwesterly direction. And so, overall, not too bad. It could be a little bit unsettled in the north. Mainly dry, I would have thought, down in the south. And temperatures that should be pleasantly mild, if not quite warm. And this is the option we've got for 2 weeks' time, which gets us to the 14th of April, just beyond Easter. Then we have above average heights down to our southwest, just to our west-southwest. Again, should be relatively settled, bringing in the wind from a westerly direction, so I don't see why there would be any particular problem with temperatures. And with high pressure just down to our southwest, there should be quite a bit of dry and pleasant weather on offer there, I would have thought. And then finally, the CFS V2, these are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period takes us from the 30th of March to the 5th of April. The coming week has low pressure to our northeast, high pressure in the middle of the Atlantic, bring down northerly winds. So it looks quite cold in the weekend. We've got more cold days to come. But by the time we get through to week 2, which is the 6th to the 12th of April, then we've got low pressure out to our west, and winds are going sort of west-southwesterly. Maybe a bit unsettled, but definitely temperatures should be lifting up there. Week 3 looks quite good. It's the 13th to the 19th of April, and we're under an area of high pressure then. Low pressure pushed away to the north with a jet stream. So that should be mainly dry and potentially quite warm, I would have thought. And then week 4 is the 20th to 26th of April, with low pressure up to the north, high pressure to the southwest, winds in from the west, should be relatively mild, but perhaps turning a little bit more unsettled in that week. Temperature anomalies of CFS V2 for week 1, 30th March to 5th of April, are colder now, because you've got more cold days to come. Still pretty chilly actually into week 2, which is perhaps a bit of a surprise given the scenario we just saw in the 500 millibar height anomaly. But the 6th to the 12th of April is still a little bit on the cooler than average side, especially for northern and western parts of the country. But week 3 goes definitively milder than average. This is the 13th to the 19th of April, then significantly above average temperatures. Before maybe it starts to turn a bit cooler again as we get through to week 4, which is the 20th to the 26th of April. So the CFS not seeing a particularly mild April at all, actually, you have to say. Precipitation-wise, finally, so precipitation anomaly from the 30th of March to 5th of April, drier than average, quite cold and dry in the next few days. Bit more unsettled for week 2, which is the 6th to the 12th of April, then precipitation anomalies are close to average, so obviously has turned a bit more unsettled. Week 3 is the 13th to 19th of April. We're under high pressure and we're going drier than average. And then week 4, perhaps, it's a very weak signal, but week 4 perhaps hints at that it's becoming a little bit more unsettled again from the 20th to the 26th of April. Nothing particularly dramatic showing up there within the CFS, nothing to be particularly alarmed about. Other than the temperatures do look a bit of a struggle really. But we'll worry about what's happening there as we go on. In a more immediate time frame, it looks as though we're going to have a few more cold days to come. Temperatures start to lift up over the weekend. It's going to get milder over the weekend, warmer even. And into next week, but it looks like temperatures should be holding up relatively well. We may be able to pull off a warm and dry Easter, but I'm a bit dubious because I think the Atlantic could start cranking up by the time we get through towards Easter. But we shall see about what Easter has in store for us in a few more days. But temperatures definitely lifting up over the weekend and into the early part of next week. That's quite a clear signal among all of the model output today. Right, that's it for your video today. Tomorrow we'll have the ECMWF 30-day look ahead for the UK and the rest of Europe too, as well as a week to 10-day video update. Don't forget to like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. You'll be notified when we release the content you want to see. And also, let us know in the comments what you thought. Stay safe, stay well, and we're going to see you tomorrow. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.